الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على محمد الذي بعثه الله رحمة للعالمين الذي أتاه الله مجامع المعاني والكلمات والهداية والعلم والحكمة وعلى آله وصحابته ومن تمسك وعمل بسنته إلى يوم الدين. Well, after supplicating or soliciting the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thanking Him profusely and unendingly, and soliciting and calling for His praise upon His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whom He has resurrected, chosen, and delegated, sent as the messenger, the final, the ultimate messenger to mankind, as a source of blessings, mercy, grace, and the achievement of the wisdom and the purpose of our existence and presence on this earth. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and upon his household, his companions, and whosoever adheres, propagates, implement by his directions, principles, and guidance. But it is incumbent upon me, ethically and morally, to go through the normal protocols, to extend my profound, sincere greetings to Imam Mariama Saz, Dr. Mariama Saz Sise. I think my attempt here to see anything amounts to committing suicide in the presence of this giant. I'm a Lilliputian and she's a giant. So, but they say, as the proverb is in the Gambian consciousness, if you see the monkey giving sermons on Friday on the pulpit, then the dog was not present in the mosque that day. So, hence I am on the pulpit. It is incumbent, obligatory to say even if I am wrong, but she is here to rectify me. I say a big thank you to my brother, my friend, my colleague and companion in that unending fierce battle called Islamic propagation, and he is none other than Dr. Bilal Philip. My greetings goes to my brother, Agora Fal. It's not new to me, I met him before. And I thank the student body, the executive committee, for reposing the confidence in me with not the high hopes, but the super high hopes of my ability, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to deliver and to dilate decisively, precisely, clearly, convincingly the topic that I am assigned to talk on. That is change for the better. I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I know hopes and expectations are very high, but I solicit the power, the divine providence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help me, because what I've been listening to here, the youths, the minds, the power, the mental capacity that I've had here, I don't think I am anywhere near to sit here and try to just treat a subject so important, as Ma'am said, so timely and relevant to our current situation. But anyway, let me just take courage, rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and move on. But before taking any step, I would like to suggest democratically, from a democratic point of view, is there anybody here in the midst of the group who cannot be obeying what we are saying? I mean, who is not informed or who does not have the skill of understanding English? Is there anybody here? Because the first change is to change that attitude. I'm not English, you are not British. Whatever I'm saying, no matter how able and skilled I am, there are certain nuances in English I will never be able to say it, and it will never impact on your consciousness. So more like angale kawa for manega kawa. That's the majority vote. Anyway, before I say anything of essence, I want to just refer to the Quran as Dr. rightly said. The Quran being the infallible source of Muslims. Because this discussion is going to be discussed from the perspective of a Muslim, with conventional aspects mentioned if necessary. But let's go into the Quran, and I think everybody knows that the Quran is the inexhaustible word of Allah, impregnated with infinite meaning, advantage, essence, relevance for every time and for every community. Let's go to Surah Al-Isra, verse number 87, where subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ صَرَّفْنَا لِلنَّاسِ فِي هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ مِنْ كُلِّ مَثَلٍ فَأَبَى أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ إِلَّا كَفُورًا. We have clearly elaborated and explained everything, every simile, every very simile for human beings, for people in this Holy Quran. But most people prefer to take the route of unbelieving, to become unbelievers. So, being the case, I think before I go into change, I just want to remind you of a very important springboard, a principle if we understand and implement, and add that principle in our consciousness, become a guiding principle for us in our life. I think what we want to discuss on that exchange will have an impact after our departure from this ground. Let's go to Surah Al-Hadid. Everybody knows that surah. One of the most powerful, important surahs in the Holy Quran. And you go to verse number 16 and listen what the Quran is telling you. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, extending to time, to eternity. أَلَمْ يَعْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَنْ تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ أَلَمْ يَعْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَنْ تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَا نَظَرَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ وَلَا يَكُونُ كَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِ. سبحان الله. وَلَا يَكُونُ كَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِ. In Arabic, the letter min. In Arabic, the word or the article min is called the preposition. And this letter or this article, when it is before a verb, it turns the construction of the verb into a kasra down. But in this verse, min qablu instead of min qabli, the Quran is telling you that whatever ideology, concepts, or systems of living that existed before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all of them are invalid and void. Min qabl. ولا يكون كالذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبل فطال عليهم الأمد فقست قلوبهم. Subhanallah. He says because the stance of time that it took from the day the revelation was revealed to the children of Israel to the emergence of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that was quite a long distance of time. So people distance themselves spiritually, mentally, psychologically from the source of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What happened at the end of the day? Allah says, وَأَكْثَرُهُمْ فَاسِقُونَ. Most of them became deviated people. So our problem is, as Muslims, I believe it is not a matter of not knowing what the Quran or the Sunnah is, but it is a problem of taking the meanings of the Quran and the Sunnah and bringing it down into our social reality. And this is why we are going to discuss, or we are going to talk about change today. What is change? In the Holy Quran, subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't leave anything for the Muslims. Everything is explained. Exhaustive. That's why the word change in the Holy Quran, you have change in the Holy Quran. What is the meaning of change? Well, change is always preceded by movement. There must be a movement from one location to another for us to call something a change. But a change can be negative, at the same time it can be positive. It can be bad and it can be good. That's why if you move from one end to another end, but of a similar nature, you are moving, you are not changing. But if we move from one end to another end, either it is a positive change or it is negative, then you have change. That's why the word change, at-taghyir, is mentioned in the Holy Quran 5 times. Where? Go to Surah An-Nisa, verse number 118, where Iblis la'anahu Allah says, لعنه الله قال لأضلن لأتخذن من عبادك نصيبا مفروضا. I will just entice, I will just cause the deviation of a specific portion of your servants. But how am I going to do that? He says, لأضلنهم ولأمرنهم ولأمنينهم وَلَآمُرَنَّ فَلْيُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانِ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. Tariya. So change is, it is either to change something internally or to change something externally. But in the whole, change has something to do with your mental posture, with your mental portrayal. So when we say change, you can change your compound, you can change your house, you can change your clothes, and you can even change your name. But it is not important. Because what is important, change is always based on your internal and inwardly changing your attitude and outlook towards things outside. Verse number 1, verse number 118, Surah An-Nisa. You go to Surah Al-Anfal, you find that from verse number 52 to verse number 54. Listen very carefully. It's very important why I call this verse, because these are the gates through which we're going to have our exit, or we're going to go through in order to shed more light on what is change for the better. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كَدَعَبِ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ, verse number 52. كَدَعَبِ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ وَالَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ كَفَرُوا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ كَفَرُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ فَأَخَذَهُمُ اللَّهُ بِذُنُوبِهِمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَوِيٌّ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. He says, just like the people, the traditions and the ways of the people of Pharaoh and the people before Pharaoh, they denied the signs and the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hold them responsible for that denial, because Allah was powerful and Allah is stern in chastisement and punishment. From there, same chapter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, number 53. ذلك بأن الله لم يكن مغيرا نعمة أنعمها على قوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. Allah says, because me, Allah, I will never change any blessings that I have caused to come upon people except and until they change their mental attitude internally towards the blessings that I have given them all the mercy. So change is always here very interesting. لم يكن ربك ليغير نعمة أنعمها على قوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. In Arabic, it's very interesting. I think it will serve you very well for you to know that these articles in the Quran, the word be, is an article. B tells you that here, Allah is telling that the most difficult thing that human beings dislike is change. This article B denotes that human beings don't like change because change brings something that is unknown, and man is never friendly to the unknown. So that's why change is very difficult. From there, let's go to Surah Al-Ra'd, the most important verse I want to use, and it is frequently quoted by all Gambians, especially the scholars. You go to Surah Al-Ra'd, you open it at verse number 20 to verse number 24. Listen what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you. He says, لَهُ مُعَقِّبَاتُ مِنْ بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِ يَحْفَظُونَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah will never change anything. So that's why it's interesting to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after creating us, empowering us and giving us with all the prerequisites, all the equipment, the necessary ones, for us to be able to be the Khalifa on this earth, Allah says He is not there to change anything that He has already given to man, except if man changes what Allah has given to him. And that change internally through changing our attitude to the way of Allah, to the commandments of Allah, to the explanation or the tradition or the practice of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and to our worldview, how we see the world and see ourselves. So what is change? Change is moving from something from a lower level, because He says change for the best. Change for the best. That means that you change yourself. By changing yourself, you change your community. By changing your community, you change your country. By changing your country, you change humanity. You know, that is moving from the lower level of existence to the highest level of existence. So I've given you the meaning of change and quoted the relevant verses in the Holy Quran, so that whenever you want to make a reference, you can go there to know what is change. But there is something else called exchange. And I think that is what we are doing. That is something called exchange. You know why? I think that is the pattern in the Gambia and among Muslims particularly. You know, Doctor is very much jealous, and zealously Doctor is defending our dispensation, right? I'm not apologetic as she is, but I know 21% of all the problem out of 50 is all due to our lack of understanding, inertia, and our inability to bring the text into reality and becomes part and parcel of our living system. So Muslims have nobody to blame. Somebody was quoting Huntington. Quoting that man tells me that you are still mentally enslaved by Huntington. Classes of civilization. There is nothing called classes of civilization. It is a madman's hallucinatory presentation. There is nothing like that. It is an American capitalistic Freemasonry presentation of history. But the Quran tells you Allah is in control of history. History is working according to rules and principles, and they are invariable. Everything changes except change, and Allah is the change. So that is not the right quotation. Drop it down. It's good for you, but what I mean, the idea, because unconsciously, subliminally, that concept is moving us. Because it is making the Western civilization superior in our eyes, in our subconscious, thinking that they are big, we are small. This is how a colonial people, a traumatized people are always controlled, hypnotized, because the concepts are unconsciously in their consciousness. The Quran is the liberator and the Sunnah is the guide. No power, no intellectual power can just stand to challenge these concepts. You can't do it. Except if you are not firm ground or you are not properly equipped. This is no boasting and this is not bigotry. This is the reality, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator. Let's move. So we said, so when we say change, we are doing exchange in here. We are not doing change. Because in fact, when we go to the political side of it, the Gambia, is it a transformation or a change that happened here? I am asking the question. What happened in the Gambia? A transformation or a change? You see, absolutely wrong. You cannot transform if you don't change. Well, she is an expert in linguistics, because trans means crossing something, form. The form is crosses from one form to another, and you are not change, and change is movement. Then you are not transforming. You are exchanging one thing for another. You are exchanging personals in the office, but the attitudes are still the same, the Gambian way. We don't like that. We want Islamic change. Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he came to Mecca, a society that was engrossed in idolatry, a society that was just repugnant in injustice, a society that was just completely, inhuman in ignorance and lack of knowledge, a society that was so cruel that dividing society into status. But Muhammad said, La ilaha illallah, mental liberation. I belong to only one deity, the Supreme One. I am what I am who I am. Okay. I say in the Gambia we have exchange. You know what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with all the blessings and the mercies that He has given and assigned to the children of Israel. Look at the traumatized people, a traumatized mentality. That's why I always suggest that Gambians be just subjected to the treatment of a psychiatrist before they are changed. We are traumatized people. Colonial traumatization, wrong Islamic interpretation, traumatization. So that's why it's important for us to be very careful with this point. That's why Bani Israel, with all the blessings that Allah has done for them, in liberating them from the claws and the dictatorial power and the torture and tormentation of Pharaoh. Look what happened. After crossing the Red Sea, the first request they made of Moses was what? Ijal lana ilahan kama lahum aliha. Please, Moses, we want you to fashion an idol for us as the people we met near the sea, as the same idol they are worshipping. Because they were mentally controlled during their stay in Egypt. They were mentally controlled. Pharaoh bombarded their minds with the reality that it become part of their existence that ana rabbukumul a'la, that a God should be seen but never to be an invisible God. No, now I'm entering the zone of change. That's why I want to just highlight the syndromes, the malaria syndromes in the minds of the Gambians before I go to the change, the process. Change is a process. It's not simply, giving lectures on that. I will give what is change definition, and I see why we should change, and I'll give you the strategy and the methods for how we're going to change ourselves. All from the Quran and from the Sunnah. Not from any so-called, I'm not trying to belittle the efforts of the intellectuals, but what I want from Muslims, especially the youth, you have something that is inexhaustible. Go into that. وَلَا يَعْتُونَكَ بِمَثَلٍ إِلَّا جِئِنَاكَ بِالْحَقِّ وَأَحْسَنُ تَفْسِيرًا. Nobody can bring anything that is more important and that is more advantageous and clear and everlasting than what is brought in the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Furqan, verse number 33. Okay, we are doing an exchange. Bani Israel asked Musa to make an idol for them. But Musa told them, you are people, you are highly ignorant, you are steeped in ignorance. Moral ignorance you are steeped in. After they went, sometimes Moses went to get the laws. But what happened? Samiriyu fooled them and created a calf out of the gold they carry in the desert, and they started worshipping what? The gold. The Gambian mentality, infatuation. Our minds have become so materialistic. We cannot see this truth, and we can never be changed if your mind is polluted material. Hasn't been that we reject material, because material is the basis of existence on this earth. Because your body is made of material, the earth, you have your mind and you have your soul. So man is composed of three independent aspects. That is the physical aspect, and the spiritual aspect, and the mental aspect. He says, when he went to get the law, they were worshipping the calf. But the most important thing is for them to change. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 20 again, to verse number 24, listen to this very interesting story. وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ يَا قَوْمِ اذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ Allah has إِذْ جَعَلَ فِيكُمْ أَنْبِيَاءَ is جعل فيكم أنبياء والنبوة وآتاكم مما لم يؤت أحدا من العالمين. And Moses told them, قال لهم موسى ادخلوا الأرض المقدسة الذي كتب الله لكم ولا ترتدوا على أدباركم فتنقلبوا خاسرين. Enter the land, but not a land, physical land. Enter the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala together and never revert or go back against the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, otherwise you are going to be losers. Listen what the Israel responded to Moses at that point in history. The same problem is what we are facing in the Ummah today. وَقَالُوا يَا مُوسَى إِنَّ فِيهَا قَوْمًا جَبَّارِينَ. This is my springboard. This is the nitty-gritty of my concept. From here I'm going to live. إِنَّ فِيهَا قَوْمًا جَبَّارِينَ. Look at that slave mentality. That's why if people are exposed to slavery for a long time, they lose their humanity, they lose their essence, they lose the power to think, they lose everything that is human. Inna fiha qawman jabbarin is, as my brother rightly quoted, authentic. He is acclaimed as the greatest thinker with that Japanese guy, Fujimori. I think both of them are classes of civilization. We read books, we don't digest them. These people are just creation, instruments created by the Freemasons. Take care. When you read them, you digest them. Bring them in the light of the Quran, you throw them or you burn them in the fire. They are transient concepts. They are not real. They just want to make you bring downtrodden, the wretched of the earth. Never allow that anymore. A Muslim is always up. وَلَنْ يَجْعَلُ اللَّهَ لِلْكَافِرِينَ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ السَّبِيلًا. You will never be a downtrodden as long as you know this deed. It's an eye-opener. It's a soul-searching journey. It is a reconnection, relations with the spiritual world, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, let's go. Inna fiha qawman jabbarin. This is why we cannot change in the world. Sometimes, when you blame colonialism in any form, you are sometimes, to be objective, you are swayed by the realities of the situation to blame the colonized people because of their preparedness psychologically and mentally to accept colonialism. And the same problem happened to Bani Israel. I'm contrasting and contradistinction between the two concepts, the Gambian and the Israelites. Because the Quran is there to teach us, to tell us which way to take. The middle way. They say they will never enter the land given to them because there are powerful people there. They think that when they enter onto those people, and Allah says, I guided you from Egypt to this land. I'm going to give you this land. If you enter, I'm going to protect you. But they don't believe in Allah. If you don't have self-confidence in your religion, in your concept, in yourself, in your people, you will never be a changed person. Inna lan nadkhulaha ma dama fi. We will never go into this land as long as those powerful people are there. But at the end of verse number 24, that's the point. If Father have unto them, you Moses and your God, and fight them, we will never go with you. We are going to stay here. And this is what we are doing. We think everything that comes from the West is the best. We think whatever the Western mind says is the enlightened man. We think all rationality should come from the West. I'm not belittling the achievement of the West, but I am trying to extol the West, but I'm not trying to belittle you equally, but I want to incite you to be just equal or even more than the West. Don't be an imitator, but be an emulator. Never be an imitator. But we are just imitating. That's why sometimes when I'm speaking English, I don't care the errors that I make grammatically. I don't care. What I care is the transmission of my concept to my listener. Go for it. I can't tubaboti. I didn't get a tubaboti in some room of here. I didn't get an Arabo. I'm going back to be an African. I'm created that way. Allah knows why He created me African. So, when you change, because sometimes, when we go to school, we are given an information. That's why it is good to say Ministry of Learning, not Ministry of Education. But IOU is an educational center. It's a difference. But our schools are an education, a ministry of learning. It's the same ABC, 1, 2, 3, since I was a child. And it's the same ABC you are learning. What have you made out of that ABC? Morally, practically, physically? Tell me. Nawek has a problem. All the guys went to school. They are engineers. They cannot do anything. They go to the Tubab, they learn, but they are not engineers. Then they were given information, a brainwash education. What I owe you is liberating your mind. Everybody is like everybody, the Islamic scholars, we need to be liberated. Only the Quran and the Sunnah can do it. Somebody will say, Sheikh, you are talking too much and fearlessly about this. Are you liberated or have you created anything? Well, I'm creating concepts. Concepts come before invention. So, let's go. So that's the problem. So what is change? We say change for the better. We don't say to exchange. In the Gambia, we've made an exchange. The same ministries, the same people in the ministries, the same mentality, there is not a change. That's why President Barrow, may Allah help him, he has to change attitudes. Gambia needs another 50 good years to change the attitudes of the Gambians. Inwardly, so that we become good Gambians. Otherwise, it's the same trend as usual. Why are you in IOU? I want two answers, one from the girls and one from the boys. Let somebody answer me. Why are you in IOU? Why are you here?
For an authentic Islamized knowledge.
For an authentic Islamized knowledge. Okay, I know that you want an authentic Islamized knowledge. But after attaining and achieving that Islamized knowledge, what are you going to do with that knowledge? What are you going to do with it?
To propagate it.
To propagate, you do it. You change yourself with that knowledge, then you do it. You propagate it to the people. Isn't it? Because otherwise you are just getting an information. That's why this is the difference between education and learning. We go to school, we are taught by the teacher was taught by somebody taught the teacher, 1, 2, 3, ABC. Since independence, it's a burden on my mind. I'm not denigrating or insulting Western education. No, there is nothing called Western education. There is a Western method of education. There is a Western method of education relevant to their society, to their times and reality. But you imitated the Western model, and that model is not appropriate to your situation. It's just like, I'm not deviating, I'm just trying to what do you call it? It is a style in the Quranic methodology. When you are discussing about a point, you just deviate a while and come back. An example is, for you to be able to liberate your mind and to be a critical thinker, to be an informed personality. I'll give you a very good example politically. When the Tubabs were in the Gambia, they divided the Gambia into an urban area and into a protectorate. They made Banjul the capital, isn't it? Southern Congo has a parliamentarian, one representative. Southern Congo. Congo South has only one member in the parliament, isn't it? But how many members of parliament from Banjul are in the parliament? 3. And what is the population of Banjul? 8,000. Congo South is how much? Something like 30,000. The Tubab mentality is still there. Let them change it. Just giving you an example. Take it. Note it down. Tell them. Let them change it. Less than 10,000. And this is 30,000. This one has 3 and this one has 1. That is injustice. I'm just giving you the mentality why we should change. This is just an example. Okay, let's go. I say change. Change is always from an Islamic perspective. It's always from the worst to the best. For a Muslim, change from the worst to the best. You know why? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us, giving us a very, very authentic, infallible methodology. How we're going to change ourselves. When he was commissioned to preach Islam in Mecca, there were certain things that actually, Mecca was surrounded by almost 360 idols. And he was called, when Quraysh couldn't challenge him anymore. When they know that they are threatened because so many people are reverting to Muhammad's call, They called him and asked him to give him authority, to give him wealth, to give him status in society. But you know, the response was so decisive that Quraysh completely lost their ground, and there was no more, a harmony in the Quraysh ranks. You know, Muhammad said, if they had put the moon on my right hand, and the sun the sun on my right hand, and the moon on my left, for me to abandon and forsake this matter, I will never do it. You know, in terms of propagating the unity of Allah, there is no compromise. You cannot compromise it in any way. But the same Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was supposed to go and perform the pilgrimage, Hudaybiyah, the 9th month of the Hijrah, the 9th year of the Hijrah, when the Quraysh clan sent a delegate to him and met him out of Mecca, there was an agreement with him not to go to Mecca for that year, to procrastinate and to abandon, to shift that performance until next year. There was an agreement, and among the agreement was, Min Muhammadin Rasulullah, the Quraysh delegation said, we will not allow you to write Muhammad Rasulullah. Because if we believe that you are a messenger of Allah, we would have never fought against you. You understand? But at this point, Muhammad accommodated and just gave in that, okay, let them remove the title from the agreement. What does that tell you? That tells you that as a Muslim, a Gambian Muslim, it's better for you to understand the realities of your time before you are able to change yourself and by extension to change society. Know the realities of your time. When Muhammad actually, did that act, there were some companions who were very much vehement against the move. They thought it was so much of giving Quraysh what they were not entitled to. But Muhammad, knowing what he knew, the time is coming, because that is a very good opportunity that allows us to propagate Islam. The number of Muslims will increase and the number of the Quraysh will decrease. So it's good for you to know your time. For you to change yourself, know your time. If you don't know your time, you will never change. One, you know, Muslims generally, since the 2nd century after the demise of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, up to our present day, we are inheriting an accumulated problem that we were not supposed to cause to come upon the Muslims. After the 2nd century, in fact, up to the day, do you know that we Muslims, frankly and in essence, all the Islam, all the appearances and the manifestations of Islam that we are practicing, listen to this very carefully, all the manifestations that we are performing now, 99% of it is not based on what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought to the companions in Medina. We are practicing the Islam of the scholars. Every scholar has an interpretation of his understanding of Islam, and that understanding of Islam, hence there are different scholars, different outlooks, different understanding, different level of IQ, that is the intelligence quotient. Then we are following each and every scholar independently. That is causing the problem in our midst right now. When you do something, somebody will tell you, no, my sect in Saudi doesn't allow this. When you do another thing, somebody will say, no, my Ahlul Sunnah in Egypt say, no, it's wrong. When you say do something or you say something, you know, as if we are not allowed to think for ourselves. As if we are, chained, we are in shackles and barnacles. We are not allowed to think. And the Quran is here. The Quran is the inspirational force that causes the impetus, that forces and compels you to be thinking 24 hours. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Ma'idah, he says, Surah Al-Imran, verse 190, 192. إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب. Look at this. الذين يذكرون الله, ذكر, reminded. يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون, they are thinking, في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. And at the end of the verse, according to authentic narration, Muhammad ﷺ says, woe to anybody who reads this verse but you never ponder on it. Well, we don't ponder, we memorize. Everybody is a tape recorder in the garden. May Allah forgive. We can quote, we can say anything. But the problem is we cannot just transform the concept into action. That's our problem. So let's go again. So what is change? I say change is moving from negative to positive. But for the best, you say change for the best. Because here you are saying you change yourself mentally, you change yourself spiritually, and you change yourself physically. Because you cannot, achieve change if you don't change these three dimensions of your existence. You know why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created Adam in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 30 to verse 39, listen to this very carefully. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created Adam, the first empowerment that He has given Adam is knowledge. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Then you are somebody who should know. You should be empowered with knowledge to understand the realities, to understand the causes, to understand the reasons, to understand the social dynamic forces that are at play, creating a situation that is inimical, disadvantageous, and that is bad and against the teachings of Islam in your society. You need to understand that. So knowledge, empowerment is knowledge. But what is knowledge? There is a difference between Akaranta and Ailondosoko. In the Gambia, we have a problem. Somebody is taught or somebody is educated. They are not the same. Because our grandfathers were educated, but they never sit in a classroom. You don't have education in a four corner of a room, but you got information out of the school. Well, with all due respect to doctor, because to be a doctor, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. For a woman to strive from childhood until to achieving doctorates, I think she is the best role model in the Gambia for the women here. You don't have to see Titi of Senegal, the singer. That's not your role model, that's the role model. Isn't it? Everybody here is a role model to the other. إِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْدُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءَ بَعْدٍ. We are role models to each other. So that's why it's important to know what is the realities that we are living in. You know, the Gambia, it is not well. Let us not fool ourselves. Things are not well. We are living Gambianly, Africanly, but we are not living Islamically. That's our problem. Because the Tubabul Luwa has predominated our consciousness. Even if you see somebody doing wrong, you say, no, if I speak to him, we go to police. And the Quran tells you, وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ يَعْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. But the police will tell you, what is your business? Because the police himself is a simple robot in the police station. When you go there, you say, I like a control. A mentality so backward. I like a control. Somebody is trying to establish the ethics of the Gambia, the ethics of Islam. So there is no change. So that's why we need to change. But how are we going to change? Muhammad ﷺ has given us this. You have to be very much educated. You have to be very much well informed with the realities, the forces at play in your society. That is number one. That is, you need to confront what is called truth. You would have to confront truth and to understand the realities of your day. Confronting truth means taking the bull by the horn. Don't be afraid of anybody. Don't have reservation against anybody. And don't accommodate or try to compromise the truth, the principle, because Islam is Islam. Never compromise any principle. So you go for the truth, confront the truth, and try to understand and comprehend whatever it is in the society. If you do that, you know what is change. I'm just giving you the strategy how you change yourself. Understand what is truth, and understand what is the realities in your society. When you know that, you will be able to change. Because look, human society is composed of two things. Human society is composed of human beings, and that human being created a methodology in that society. So you need to know human beings, because man cannot be taken into the lab to be analyzed. But you can analyze man in his own milieu, environment, social. You can analyze his mental state. You can analyze his spiritual level. You can analyze his physical structures. So man is always analyzed in the midst of his social existence. So knowing what is the truth And knowing what is the realities that are playing either against or for man is very good for you to know how you're going to change. Because man is the subject, Islam itself is for man, the Quran came for man, the Quran is for man, and it came for man, and it is for man that man is going to use the Quran for him to achieve success here and success in the next world. That's number one. Number two is your ability to distinguish what is evil and what is righteousness. You must be somebody who must be able, who must have the power to distinguish what is evil, that is wrong, and what is good. Because if you don't know that, you will mix up everything. An example is in our society now, the banking system in the Gambia. Many questions are being posed. These banks, are they doing riba or not? Every day these questions are just asked. But is there anybody who cares to go into exhaustive research to come up with convincing proof that either the banks are riba banks, usurious banks, or not? So it's better to understand what is righteousness and what is evil. Because if you don't know that, it's a problem. And another example is Sunday Beach. Sunday Beach is another problem. When they say Sunday Beach, they say it's the right of the child. Well, no problem. We went to the beach several times when we were kids. But Sunday Beach, the name Sunday Beach is even inappropriate to the Gambian dictionary. Sunday is not Gambian language and beach is no longer Gambian language. So Sunday and beach, are they European or Gambian? Hey, you are a fool. It's not a joke. Whatever you cannot translate in your own language, you are a fool. You are remote control. After Dimasi Bada Toba, Dimasi Bada, it has no meaning. So you are not going there. But when you say Sunday bit, you are going to do evil of the evil there. That's why the Gambians, when they come to GRTS, trying to educate us, well, 50% of the Gambians don't understand English, isn't it? You see people sitting down. I think Mr. Bass guys. I was watching a program, Gis. Very important security, Gis. But the presenter of the program, Gis doesn't speak Mandinka, only Olaf. And the guys, the members of the panel, instead of speaking into Mandinka or Olaf, they went into English. Each trying to demonstrate to the Gambian populace that he is the best in English above the other. So there is a pause in the information flow. So the audience are not benefiting from that Gis. Let them change it. Whenever there is a pause in the information flow, it is not beneficial to the audience. Nila tubab di call ela. Tubab de kulo di wahal tubab yange wahal Gambian. Guy wa nila tubab di call rice. Wa fa mano wala wahal malo. Very simple. So we are not changing. Let's go to the third point. The third point of change is, the first one is you have to confront truth. The second one is you have to understand the realities in society. You have to be able to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. The third one is you have to prepare yourself mentally and psychologically based on the teachings of Islam to know what is change. Because to change, that's why Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before he was commissioned to deliver the message of Islam, he was spending most of his time for 3 good years in Jabal Nur, called Jabal Ghar Hira, leaving the community of Mecca and going to the mountains. That doesn't mean that he was being prepared only psychologically, no. He wasn't prepared mentally, no. It is not a physical preparation only. It is an entirely psychological, mental, physical, spiritual preparation. Because Muhammad has a project. That's why the difference between Muhammad and other messengers is, other messengers, they don't have projects. They don't have programs for mankind. They just came to change mankind for a period, periodically. But Muhammad has an eternal program for mankind. That's why Muhammad was divinely prepared psychologically, mentally, intellectually, and physically, and morally, so that the commissioning of propagating Islam, when he was given to him, the first thing he did was he has to propagate it in an environment hostile to the teachings of Islam. but how was he able to accommodate? How was he able to adapt himself to that hostilities in that environment? Is what you are going to use in the Gambia, that American hostilities, and use it in the Gambia for you to effect what is called change. Number 3, psychological preparation, mental preparation. But number 1 is you must make sure all the time when you are preaching for change or when you want to change yourself, there must be a substitution. Because somebody who is an addict, alcoholic, the person is drinking alcohol and he becomes an addict. You want to just cure that guy or you treat him out of that addict, that behavior, un-Islamic behavior. But if you should tell that person never drink alcohol, okay, that's fine. It is a Quranic imperative, isn't it? But what is the substitute that you have for that man? What is the substitute? Tell him Islam says, intoxication is haram. But you go and drink Julboro, you drink any other things. Give him a substitute. So in Islam, whatever you are doing to change yourself, you were in a negative circle yesterday and you become a positive person. Make sure that there is always a substitute for you. Otherwise, you are going to revert back or you're going to go back to your old behavior. An example is here in the Gambia. Gambians, unfortunately, tragically, they don't know the value of land. Most municipalities or towns, they sold all their lands. So the next generation is not allocated any football field or any facility or amenity centers. So what happened is, in some towns, you don't have even football fields, isn't it? So now we deny the generation to play or to exercise their right of exercising, football or doing whatever they want to do in terms of sports, isn't it? Because we have not left any option for them. So the only thing they can do is they go to the video clubs. Because we don't leave any option for them. And in the video clubs is where they imitate itself either taking drugs or smoking cigarettes or understanding insults or saying bad things. So because we never allowed them, we never allocated an option as a substitute for them. So that's why it's very important before you change yourself, make sure that there is a substitute. That's why in Islam, Muhammad Sallallahu when he was, when the Quran was commanding the Muslims to stop drinking alcohol, it came in a gradual form, in a gradual methodology, in a gradual way. In fact, they were asked, number 1, it was explained to them that it is a spirit. Number 2, not to drink it. It is explained that it is harmful, but at the same time, it is beneficial to others. And the 3rd degree is, you don't drink it when you are going to pray. And the 4th one is, فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُنْتَهُونَ, in a negative interrogatory way. It's a phrase, when it is فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُنْتَهُونَ, a sensible person would say, okay, the Quran has explained the benefits and the dangers of and the harms of alcohol, then it's advisable for me to stop drinking it. So there should be a substitute for you. So this is very important. And number 3 is, you must make sure that everything that you want to change yourself, make it into a graduation. Don't change yourself instantly, because it is not the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for things to change instantly. If you want to change, it's a graduation. Gradually change yourself, change others, otherwise you fall into the area of what is called extremism. Because if you want to force people to change instantly, you are becoming extreme and you are breeding concepts of extremism. At least I think, because I think some people might have some time, some questions. I think it's better for me to stop here and wait for questions so that we can continue.